I'm Raphael Gikonyo. We are presenting 201, 102 ALT, and our group is Orator. We are discussing about the problems of defining oral literature. So we are going to discuss together, and we'll contribute and come up with a solution. Yeah.
What is oral literature? Oral literature can be defined as the creative work of man expressed in words, whether sung, spoken, or written down.
Can we have another definition?
It can also be defined as the media through which people's values and philosophy are transmitted. And this one is got by definition by one of the writers in the books. So it's not easy, as I might say, to define oral literature. Maybe anyone with a different idea can also give the same.
So I think we can also say that oral literature is the creative use of language. Yeah, I think that one can be defined in our own way, literature. Maybe there is anything else to add from somebody?
We can also say that oral literature is spoken art. May it be songs, dances, proverbs. Yeah.
Can we also say that oral literature is the cultural information and values of people transmitted, mainly spoken by word, that are received by different generations? So we can say passed from one generation to another. Examples like the songs, the riddles, the proverbs, yes, narratives, and in.
And then if we could ask, is there any difference between now oral tradition and oral literature? Because when you talk of the dances, the songs, would we not be talking about the oral tradition?
Now, about the same, I'll say when you talk of oral literature, we're talking of written information, which is preserved as written in books. But when you talk of oral tradition, it's the information which is passed from one generation to another, maybe through the word of mouth or through storytelling, for example.
And in that case, to understand deeply what oral literature is or where it came from, we've got to go back to the evolutionism, where we say that oral literature is the literature of Africans of earlier stages of evolution as compared to the written literature of the Europeans.
Then how can you classify the same?
I think, okay, when we come to classification, I think it's a bit difficult because we have different ethnic groups and they have maybe different maybe proverbs or songs or stories introduced at different ages and for specific purposes. Although they might mean the same, but I think because it is hard to from the beginning we find that even different people defined oral literature differently. I think the same problem lies when we come to classifying them according to.
How can you classify oral literature?
Classification is not easy, maybe currently, because I think we've carried information as a generation. What was given in the old days, whether written or spoken, I think is the same item that you're using today. So we cannot use the information we got from the early days to classify. If it's a riddle, we cannot classify it back to proverb because we found it that way. So it looks as if it's something that is static. We cannot change from one stage to another.
Again, you can get songs in a narrative, but you cannot get a narrative in a song.
So you cannot classify that also. It remains a narrative.
Though we still can use a song as like you're narrating, you're giving a story through a song. So it's also a narrative of some kind. But
it still remains in the class of songs.
But it's narrating a story.
I think again when we
Poems. Yeah, there are poems that are recited, spoken. Others are you can sing a poem, especially the Swahili ones. We have the singing of the Swahili ones, but they still remains to be poems. So you cannot change their position